welcome to my channel, Fun Speech Path. My name is Lena. I'm a pediatric speech language pathologist, and today's video I am going to talk to you about a strategy that I like to implement with kiddos who are nonverbal and verbal in order to make their productions and at least their imitative attempts more consistent. So keep watching. Hi, so the topic for today is simplifying word shapes. The reason that I will simplify some word shapes, and I'll give you some examples on how to do that and what exactly they are in a second, but for some of our kiddos who are either speech delayed, have apraxia of speech, even severe phonological processes, or are just they're very likely to shut down when they can't express themselves because they have a hard time producing sounds in sequence in order to imitate anyone, not just you as the parent, but even therapist or in class. They kind of keep to themselves. They'd rather not say anything because they know they have a difficult time. So for those kiddos, I simplify word shapes using sounds that are either already in their repertoire. So for example, you have a 2-year-old, I'll use sounds with words with the bilabial sound PBM, with vowel sounds, of course, because we need those in order to produce words. And if they have it, the alveolar sound, so T, D, N. Alveolar means, you have to elevate your tongue up to the ridge, the bumpy part right behind your teeth, your front teeth, up there. And even lip rounding, if they're able to do that for the W. The H sound also, somewhere around there. Maybe at the end, I'll put up a developmental norm sheet so you can kind of see. I do have one on my website also. If you go to freebies, it's there. I have the sounds, the average age of acquisition categorized by age. 2 to 3, then I think I jump straight to 4, 5, and 6. But basically, I have it organized in that manner. Okay, so you'll see the age on one side and then the consonant sounds that you should expect that either your child has mastered or has at least emerged. But those are what I would focus on in order to adapt some of these words, or to kind of break the sounds up a bit so that I'm using, again, sounds that they already have or sounds that I can get them to imitate with tactile cues or with exaggerated articulation cues, whatever it is that they need exactly. Okay, but so for example, I went super low tech here, so I'm show you these. The first word, apple. This L-E combination over here, that can be difficult for a child who can't protrude their tongue, and the younger they are, they're more likely to just either leave that out or turn it, morph it into something else. So usually what you'll see is they might just say appa, or it sounds like apple, but it's actually, or, well, I already showed you apple, but it's actually apple, apple, apple. That's how they say it. You don't actually see their tongue protruding for the L sound. It's the O, but it sounds close enough, right? They're able to get their point across. You know exactly what they're referring to. So that is how I simplify it. You can see this word is a great first example because you have the vowels and you have the P sound in there, which is one of the early sounds. The bilabial sound, the P, right? So A, P, O. If they aren't able to round their lips for the O, that's something that I will continue to work on, but I might adjust it so that they just have to drop their jaw in order to request and imitate me by saying appa, appa. You see how that works? You've modified the word to make it easier for them to imitate you. Why are you doing that? Again, it's to make their productions more consistent. No one wants to communicate when they're frustrated. How do these kiddos get frustrated? When they're trying to produce these sounds, but they know they have a hard time. And so they give up after a while. Or if you are badgering them to say apple, apple, stick your tongue out, come on, let's do it. There's the L sound. That's not going to work, especially if they're hungry and they want the apple. All you're going to do is create a frustrating environment for them. Okay, they're just going to break down. You're going to have a headache. It's not going to be good all around. Okay, so that's why I'm simplifying. the word shape. Now, this is not the end. This is just a strategy that's used to get them to use their words more consistently. I really want to emphasize that. That is not where we stop. Okay? I might accept it, you know, if we're doing a cooking activity and we're making fruit salad and they request apple, or they're pointing to the apple, and I ask, well, what do you want? How do we say this? And they say apple. Okay, sure, you can have apple. I am always going to follow up by giving them the correct production because I want them to continue to process that information. Eventually, when it's the appropriate time, we push them to say the entire word the way it should be produced. I have never at least stopped there. Can I see a scenario? If a child gets stuck, sure, maybe you'd pause for a little bit, come back to it later, but you know, you always want to push them to try at least to imitate more and more sound combinations because it's only going to benefit them. The larger their vocabulary gets, the more sounds they're going to need to produce correctly, or as accurately as possible, so that they're intelligible to the listener. You can only take apple so far, and these three sound combinations so far, right? Okay, so the next word I have is this one. Basic concept. So one of the early words that they start to say, and you can see again here we have the l, the yellow, the double L. That's difficult, right? So how would we modify that? I might have them say something like this, provided that they already have these sounds in the repertoire. At least, if they don't have the yeah, if they can't do all that, E-O, we start there, E-O, and then yeah, drop the jaw, right? When you're pronouncing the Y sound, at least in this word, you're saying E, what am I on? It's right here, yeah, yeah. So you retract and then you drop the jaw. But yeah, yo, you drop the jaw and purse your lips, right? So ye, oh. You can see how that is difficult for kiddos, especially those who have motor planning issues. They might want to imitate you. They might want to say yellow, but they just cannot do it. For example, a child who has childhood apraxia of speech. There is a disconnect between the signal and the muscle. So we need to do drills. We need to give them that input so that they learn how to manipulate their articulators on demand. That is where they have a hard time. That's why sometimes randomly, you'll hear parents say, or parents, you'll think, I could have sworn I heard them say it. I know, I'm not imagining things. I know they said it. You're likely not wrong. Sometimes it comes out randomly, but it's when the intention is there to purposefully use that sound or the sound combinations, there's a breakdown, right? Because that's a motor issue. So that's for yellow. Again, we're never stopping there. We are going to try to push them to produce yellow, okay? And let's see. We'll do this one. Very similar to apple. I'll let you look at it first, and maybe you can just think about how you would break this down. Use apple as the perfect example. So you have bull. Now I'll write it so you can see it. That's not very clear, but okay. Close enough. I think you could figure it out. So bubble, bubble, bubble. We might have them to do a gesture. So for give me, just do this. Me, bubble. I can't count that as two because they're trying to do 2 words. So give me, bubble. That's what they're trying to say. And what they do is bubble. So give them credit for that because they are trying to communicate with you. They're using a nonverbal cue to let you know, I want that. That is what I want. And then they're labeling it. They are stating it as best they can. We've reduced it, the complicated sound for them. We've simplified it so that they're more likely to verbalize that request. We want it to be more consistent, right? Their use of sounds to verbally request, because sometimes you'll have a kiddo that gets stuck on pointing. That's not enough. Now you can do more. If if they have shown you that they are capable of imitating, and they're at that point. Some kiddos, it does take them a little longer, especially if we're talking about our kiddos who are diagnosed as on the spectrum. I don't want to say they don't want to talk. It's not that. It's just there actually was an interesting study done. I think it was in 2017. I have to look it up again. Maybe I'll make a video about that. But from what I recall, it was referring to the auditory, the verbal, and the visual areas of the brain, well, the areas that process that information. And some kiddos actually showed signs of a delayed or even non-existent connection. So just because you're saying bubble and you're showing them the bubble doesn't mean that they're connecting that sound combination to this object. So you can imagine if we're talking about needing to create those neural pathways for them to pair the verbal with that visual and what they're hearing, and then to produce that would take a number of, I mean, we're not even just talking about 100 repetitions. That's a lot of work and a lot of repetitions that need to go into just creating that, right? The ability to listen to what we're producing, bubble, pair that with that object that they see that they want, bubbles. Here, I'll use this, bubbles. And then to be able to move their own articulators and state bubble. There's a lot going on. We don't even think of it. We take so much for granted because the brain is an amazing thing. But yeah, so let's get back to simplified word shapes though. Okay, maybe I will make a video because I was interested, at least when I read it. I don't think it was ever replicated, but okay, I don't know. Bubble. And okay, this one. Orange. This word consists of a lot of difficult steps. So it's not just the O. If you have a child who has difficulty with lip rounding, the O, they're not going to do it. You might have to do in when you're starting off, and build it up to all win. Then you work on, producing it's more like a J sound here. But, of course, throughout this process, you'll be giving them that model, the therapist will be giving them the tactile cues, and you're kind of going through repetition after repetition of trying to say bits and pieces of this so that they can produce the entire word. But how would we simplify this? Like I said, I might do all win. Looks like Owen, but all win, orange, all win. If you hear it, it sounds very similar to that actual word. So again, not stopping here. This is just so that they have a way to communicate, to ask for the color. When you ask them what color do you want, they can think about, do I want yayo or do I want alwyn? That is why we're doing it, so that they verbalize. These are the sounds they have. That is what they're going to use. That is how I'm going to simplify words so that they become more consistent. Again, always, always, always give them the correct model so that they are processing that and they're taking that information in. And of course, if you're the therapist, you're going to be giving them the cues. If you're not the therapist, you're the parent, your therapist will be giving them the tactile cues that they need in order to learn how to, I should probably stop flapping this, right? In order to learn how to produce those sounds more accurately. Okay, but the idea behind simplified word shapes is to decrease the amount of frustration and to increase the amount of not just communicative, but imitative attempts first, right? You need them to imitate you. You have to decrease that frustration level so that they will try. Then once they start imitating you, you can back off your own cues a bit and, ask those WH questions like, what is that? Which one? You want yellow? You want orange? To see if that choice is enough to cue them to verbally label. If it's not, you sabotage, you throw them, you want, is this blue? You want the blue crayon? I don't have the crayons around me, so I cannot show you that, but I have this nearby. No, that is blue. All right, we'll use this one. You want, is this yayo? And they'll give you a no, and they'll try wed, 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 red, red. See where I'm going with it? I hope so. It's hard when there's no one responding to you. I'm much better at coaching parents through this because I get the immediate response. This is a little weird, but yeah, that's all. That's all for today. Okay. I have to fix this. Ugh. All right, I'll do that in a little bit. I hope you found this video helpful. Please like and share. Subscribe so that I know this is benefiting you or anyone. And this, by the way, you can do with any language. It's not just for words in English. I can do a video on how to do it in Hindi and Spanish. Those are the two languages that I'm probably best at. So maybe, let's see. I'll let you know. You'll see it pop up. All right. Take care. Bye.